Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's been a great few days, and what better way to begin winding down with some insight into traveler behavior as it relates to technology. Most travelers still think of technology as mobile itineraries, check-in, boarding passes, digital room keys, just some basic examples. But we're more interested in upcoming technologies. And so, at Phocuswright, when we go out and survey travelers, we ask them about their awareness and usage of tech, like virtual reality, augmented reality, and of course these days, GenAI. Travelers see technology as a tool that adds to their holiday experience, whether it's a mobile boarding pass or taking a selfie so that they can share it with the world. 39 to 54% of travelers indicated that technology enhances their experience, with the Italian and Spanish travelers expressing the strongest feelings about this. And unsurprising, younger travelers, those aged under 35, are most likely to agree that technology improves their travel experience. Other than Germany, where travelers tend to lag, across every other country, younger people express stronger opinions about technology's role in making their holidays better. But most of us in this room are more interested in emerging technologies. What's the next big thing that will cause our consumers to adapt and change their behavior? What's catching their interest and attention, if anything? And so, in our most European consumer survey, we asked travelers about their awareness and usage of some emerging tech. And I'm going to share some of those insights into these three technologies with you today. Let's start with virtual reality. Virtual reality is typically accessed through games used to view content or communicate with other people in an immersive environment by wearing a head-mounted device. Interesting tidbit, early attempts of virtual reality are attributed to panoramic paintings with the idea of filling the viewer's entire field of vision. Awareness of modern-day virtual reality across the 5 countries ranges from 65 to 81%. But despite these fairly high levels of awareness, usage is still very low, even in general everyday life. Only about 3 in 10 have ever used VR. And if we drill down into travel, we see that only about 10% have even tried it. Now, keep in mind that VR does need to be accessed through a headset, such as like a PlayStation VR or a MetaQuest. So the low usage is likely because there is a cost factor of the additional equipment that is needed and lower availability of content that's readily available on VR. Now, among those using virtual reality for travel, the activities are related primarily to pre-trip planning phase. Now, we're going to look at how virtual reality is used for trips. This data is among those travelers who indicated that they did use VR for travel, and most indicate just 1 to 2 different types of uses. There's opportunity to leverage virtual reality in planning for all trip components. Currently, DMOs might have the best opportunity among the British, Italian, and Spanish travelers for previewing their cities. Hotels could benefit from creating previews of the facility, specifically the rooms. 36 to 46% indicated that they're already doing this, especially with the French more so than others, as well as previewing a destination. The Spanish are more likely than others are previewing their plane cabin or their seats. The airlines have plenty of opportunity to offer this. Only a quarter or more of VR users are doing it today. And when it comes to in-destination activities, travelers can use it before and during their trip. Previews of tours and activities is one area. VR could be used while in destination to experience an attraction. Currently, this has the lowest usage among travelers, likely because of the equipment needed. Travelers probably don't want to take their headsets on vacation with them, and it would be a significant investment for the attractions. Augmented reality is an application that superimposes computer-generated images onto the user's real world, typically by using a smartphone. Anyone remember the craze of Pokemon Go a few years ago? When you'd see people wandering around looking odd in public places and you were wondering what they were doing before you realized they were trying to catch a Pokemon? While you would think that those days are long behind us, apparently there's still 80 million active users every month. Awareness of augmented reality is similar to virtual reality, with 64 to 78% of travelers having at least heard of it across all the 5 countries. And since augmented reality is more accessible through smartphones, you might expect its usage to be a bit higher. But while it's slightly ahead of VR, most travelers really haven't taken to it. In general, 24 to 33% have tried augmented reality, and only 7 to 13 have used it for their trips. For augmented reality, the lack of usage just might be because people aren't aware of the functionality that companies have made available to them through their phone. And augmented reality is a technology that can really enhance the trip experience. Its uses are more so when the traveler is already in their destination. This data is among those travelers who indicated they use AR for travel. And again, we saw that travelers indicated only 1 to 2 different types of uses. And with the benefit of augmented reality really being while travelers are in destination, the opportunity for travel companies looks different than it did for virtual reality. Using AR for navigational purposes was used most by travelers, with France and Italy to a slightly lesser extent. And almost any travel supplier or intermediary could benefit by providing this service, whether it be directions to the hotel or through the airport or to an attraction. Using AR for real-time translations was used most by the French, German, and Italian travelers. And the British travelers were significantly less likely to do this. Here again, travel companies can promote real-time translations or provide this functionality on their apps to help with the language barriers. There is a significant opportunity for those who provide in-destination activities to supplement their experience by overlaying information about the attraction. This was used most notably by the Spanish traveler. And similarly, there's an opportunity to perhaps gamify the experience of an attraction as well, although this did have the least usage, just likely because it's not widely available. Now let's look at GenAI. GenAI has certainly been the buzz of 2023, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down. And it may make another leap in capabilities with GPT-5 expected to be released later this year. In our research, we took the approach to account for use cases where the traveler deliberately used a standalone platform like ChatGPT or Google Gemini. We did not account for instances where it was integrated onto a travel company's site or app. And with the hype starting in November of 2022, it is astonishing the levels of awareness of generative AI that it's reached already. Free open versions are now accessible to anyone with internet access, and there's been some big enhancements with GPT 4.0. GenAI has similar awareness levels to virtual reality and augmented reality, with 68 to 79% having at least heard of it. Awareness is strongest among the younger travelers, with 8 to 10 travelers aged 18 to 34 in each country having heard of it. 35 to 54-year-olds are not far behind in their awareness in most countries. France has the biggest gap with 18 to 34 and 35 to 54-year-olds. But that said, our 55 and older travelers have strong awareness as well, with at least 61%. And again, for consumer traveler with GenAI being newer to the fields, its usage isn't far from AR and VR, with only 19 to 25% of travelers having already used it in general. And when we look at its usage for trips, only 7 to 12% have used it. That's less than half of our general users. Younger travelers, 18 to 34-year-olds, are more likely to use it for their trips, especially compared to the older counterparts, 55 and over, when it ranges only from 2 to 4%. And among those that use GenAI for travel, they appear to just be testing it. 47 to 56% indicated they used it for only 1 trip, but we know these travelers take 3 or more. When VR was used primarily for pre-trip planning and AR while in destination, GenAI can really be used throughout the entire process, from pre-planning to while in destination. And along with this, and that GenAI is more accessible through a smartphone, that is perhaps why they used it for 2 to 3 types of activities as opposed to the 1 to 2 that we saw in VR and AR. And while we asked only about the standalone platforms, there is ample opportunity for all travel companies. Among those that did try GenAI for their trips, the biggest was looking for things to do on their trip. This was the case across all 5 countries, with 48 to 57% indicating they had done this. Transportation to a destination, selecting the destination, and lodging had similar usage with significant differences by country. The British and Germans were less likely than other countries to use it for transportation. The German traveler is actually as likely to use GenAI for destination selection as it was for activities. However, they are least likely to use it for accommodations. There is very little difference in usage across finding places to eat across the countries. Its use for general advice, like what to pack or safety in the neighborhoods, falls short compared to these others, with usage as low as 15% up to 25%. I expect this time next year, we'll see broader use, higher usage, and more widespread implementation across travel companies. But one of the barriers to using GenAI is just a lack of trust in the results. Only 32 to 37% indicated that they would trust the output. 18 to 34-year-olds are 2 to 3 times more likely to trust the results compared to those 55 and over. And interesting, those who traveled further, specifically outside of Europe, are also more likely to trust the result of GenAI. Perhaps these segments are just more comfortable in their abilities. And trust is important. In general, when booking travel, about a third of travelers indicate they trust search results, and that search result is important to them, sorry. And while trust appears to be a bigger issue for GenAI, with only a third or so of travelers trusting the results today, they are already conditioned to do additional research, and they're not taking the search results at face value. So why should this be any different for GenAI? While I shared a lot of data, I want to leave you with 3 final thoughts. It seems strange that after nearly 3 decades after online travel became a reality, we are still reiterating that technology improves the travel experience. Of course, there are nuances, but there is no denying that technology has made travel more accessible and easy. And as a younger generation, travelers who are surrounded by technology in their daily lives from a very young age enter adulthood and become a larger proportion of the traveling population. Their expectations from travel are going to be anchored in the ability to use technology. And that makes it crucial as an industry to stay on top of the developments and figure out how they might better travel in the future. All 3 of these technologies, AR, VR, and GenAI, have healthy levels of awareness, and it's only growing, especially for GenAI. However, they have some way to go before becoming a mainstream part of the traveler's journey, whether it be in trip planning or in destination. Travelers know they exist, so there's opportunity for the brands to integrate them into their business. Tech companies also recognize that travel is an enormous opportunity. Just look at all the large tech companies, all the way to the startups that use travel as an example. There's no coincidence there is significant opportunity to leverage these technologies in travel. But the issue of hallucinations in generative AI, not knowing if the information presented is real or not, has to be overcome so that users have more confidence. Trust in the results has to be solidified before travelers are putting money on the line and booking. Integration of GenAI by the travel brands in a way that is obvious to the traveler might be the catalyst to start increasing the trust in the results as they're researching and planning their trips. Travelers will also get better at using generative AI tools on how to prompt them to get the best personalized results. They will then be using it for more than one trip, more aspects of their trips. Travelers' needs are simple. They want resources that are convenient, simple, and easy, resulting in a way that they can compare to get the best price from a source they can trust. Thank you again, and please be on the lookout for Phocuswright's Traveler Technology reports later this year, as we dive deeper into the uses of not only GenAI, VR, and AR, but many other topics as well.